Hey, this is Lorenzo Salas here with the Ignite Podcast, and I'm excited today to have Donnie Bryant. Donnie Bryant is a direct response copywriter with over 10 years of experience on the marketing battlefield. His client lists include 6, 7, 8, and even 9 figures in various industries, from dating to debt relief, and his copy has generated over $10 million. That's right, $10 million for his clients in 2017. Donnie, how are you doing today, man?
Well, I'm doing great.
Donnie, I've known you to be a world-class gentleman. You bring professionalism. You bring quality to your work. Donnie, I want to go ahead and ask you, give us a little personal glimpse into your life. What does your world look like today?
Okay. Well, let me say I feel the same way about you. I've been blessed to know you. I feel like you're a world-class professional who produces amazing work, and I'm glad we've been able to work on a few things together. Wish we could have worked on more things, and in the future, who knows what will happen. But I'm as excited about being on the show as you are to have me, and as excited to know you, probably more so than you are to know me. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
My world is, well, currently, this is going to sound kind of weird. Like, I'm a copywriter, but I don't spend near as much time writing as you might think. On an average day. On an average day, I probably spend 6 hours doing research or reading various things, and 2 or 3 hours, depending on what's going on, 2 or 3 hours doing the actual writing. So I'm reading 2 times or 3 times more than I'm writing. and that includes a lot of things. It depends on the projects that I'm working on. That I believe it's very important to understand your topic, understand your audience, and understand what's going on in the market, and the history of the advertising in that space, what people are talking about now, so that you can speak to that audience in a way that's unique and emotionally powerful, but they haven't necessarily heard 1,000 times.
Right.
So for me, it's important to read, to find interesting angles and powerful, concepts that will break through the noise. Because there's a lot of noise.
Absolutely. And then this social media world, it's compounded, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you say you spend 6 to 7 hours, are you basically researching just good strategy, good techniques, or you're researching the client and what they're looking for, the project that you're working on currently? Because I presume you probably don't have a lot of free time. You've got a lot of projects that you're juggling in between.
Right. So
is that part of your discovery process when you are working with a new client?
Yeah, it's probably 3 phases. Well, I was in phases, but 3 different things that I'm reading when I spend my hours reading. I'm definitely doing research on the client. Sometimes, most of my clients are long-term clients, so I don't have to necessarily dive deep every single time, but there's always opportunities to learn more and to clarify things and to better understand or develop new things with that client. So there's that one thing, understanding the client and really getting his voice down and understanding his goals and all those things. The second thing, of course, which is maybe the most important thing, is really understanding the audience, the people we're trying to get to buy from us. That's what we do. We're trying to get people to take action. So what's going to get them to take action? Well, you know that only by knowing them and kind of knowing the things that are the voices that are already speaking to them, the places that they already have placed their trust, the places that have already burned them and they will never trust you again. You kind of have to know those things. And then the third thing is, I study my craft. I try to keep abreast of what's going on, what other copywriters are doing, the results they're sharing, strategies that they're sharing, and things that are working or not working. And even if I'm not talking to them directly, it's usually just watching what they're doing, seeing what they're spending money on repetitively, and you can determine, with a fair degree of accuracy, what works and what doesn't work by what you see over and over again from the people are making really great numbers.
Right. And that's, if it's a proven formula, why not go with it, right? Why reinvent the wheel?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You get in trouble is sometimes trying to create something brand new.
Yeah.
And you can, but if nothing else, you can take something that's established and use it to establish your own baseline, and then create variations from there. When you create something brand new, you really don't know what to expect from it. You can superimpose expectations on there, but there's no way of really knowing. So you often should start from or establish a baseline with something that's established and understood, so that you know how to improve on that,
Right.
or you can at least determine how to improve on that.
Right. For me, I've done some copywriting. I've spent hours trying to figure the whole thing out. When it comes to copywriting, I see that a lot of, especially with people that are trying to market their business online, social media, whatnot, and they're usually speaking from their perspective of the value they're bringing, that they supposedly believe that they're bringing to the client. Is that a mistake? Is that the wrong way to approach it? What's your philosophy on that?
Yeah, there's like a fine line there, because obviously you have to speak to your own value. Otherwise, there's no reason for me to continue listening to you or to buy from you.
Mm-hmm.
But your focus should always be on the person who you want to buy from you. The person who's reading your sales letter, or who's watching your video, or whatever. You have to know what their problems and pains are. You have to know what their frustrations and fears are. You have to know what their dreams and desires are, and that's where you start. You're not even starting from where you are. You got to start from where they are, and that way you can deliver what they want. Because they're only going to give you money if you're giving them something that they want. They're not going to give you something. They're not going to give you money for something you think is cool about you.
Right.
So it's just the thing that's cool about you is, it does apply to them. Well, it applies to some of them, not everybody, but the people who it applies to. But you have to show them that. So you don't do that by saying, I'm awesome, I'm great, I'm brilliant. You say, this is what you need, this is what it takes to get that, and here's why I'm qualified to deliver that for you.
Yeah.
And here's examples where I've done that before.
There has to be you have to have some sort of identification somewhere where you can connect at that point.
Absolutely.
Then go from there and then say, hey, by the way, I can solve your problem.
Because look at this. When you started talking to your beautiful wife, you didn't walk up to her and say, man, my IQ is 200. I can bench press 400. I can run a mile in 3 minutes. You didn't do any of that stuff. It was like, hi, how are you doing? I don't know. I wasn't there when you got with her, but I'm assuming that you showed interest in her.
That's a great point.
And then your value and hers, she could begin to see you're a good guy, you're handsome, everybody knows that. But these things come about as it relates to her. You're showing interest in her, showing her value. And then it's like, okay, well, I like this guy. But she doesn't like you because you're bragging about yourself. You introduced yourself, however that works, into her world, and that's where it started from. So she got what she wanted. Not what you want. Well, I mean, obviously what she wanted also happened, but as a result of giving her what she wanted.
That is phenomenal. And as a matter of fact, when my first date with my wife always tells this story, but I actually just sat there and listened to her for probably about 70% of the time there.
Yes.
And and what's funny was I later learned that principle. I don't know, it just came kind of natural to me. That's just the way I was. But I heard that same principle reiterated, told by somebody who said, if you want people to like you, just listen. And
that's so true.
It's just that simple. But obviously, in copywriting, you can't just. There's a little bit of a different dynamic there. But in the way that you copyright, it sounds like you're saying, put out there, identify with them by answering the questions in their head already.
Right. You can demonstrate to them that you're listening, even though they didn't talk to you, like voice to voice, or person to person. But you demonstrate an understanding of them by talking about things that are important to them. So they don't have to ask you the question. You're answering it for them. Because like you said, it's a question they're already wondering about. Or it's the problem they're already looking for a solution for. And this guy here has some answers and a unique solution for my problem. I want to hear what he has to say. So again, it's not you bragging. It's you presenting something that they already have a desire for, or a fear about, or whatever. So it's still about them. So you're right. It's not, obviously you can't listen to be a very long blank page, but
fill in the blanks.
You demonstrate. Right, exactly, and that wouldn't do anything for anybody. But you're demonstrating that you have listened to the problems that exist in the marketplace, and that person is represented by that in that marketplace. So he's just going to come and hear what you have to say to those questions. And you ask the question to Google sometimes. Now, as a direct marketer, we're not relying on Google so much. We're looking to go out and buy clicks. We're buying viewers. But they're typing the question in because they want to know. They're signing up for email newsletters because they want to know. They're clicking ads because there's something they want to know about. So you're just providing an answer. And it's like they're asking a question.
And there really is a strategy, a philosophy when you approach marketing on Google. It's knowing what the client is asking, not what you think they're asking. Go out and get the information on that. That's phenomenal. Let's transition a little bit here. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thankfully, there's all this data. You can know to a very great degree the things that your clients are looking for, the things they've expressed interest in. With Google and with Facebook and with these other platforms, they tell you a lot of that stuff. So you don't have to wonder.
That's amazing. Folks, if you're listening to this podcast right now, we're just dropping some nuggets, some real bombs on you here. Understanding what your client is saying before you even talk to them is huge. And what I see a lot of times in social media is that people just blatantly put out there what their value, who they are, and they're not asking the real serious question, or they're not getting into the heads of their prospects, and not getting much success with it.
Right. That's the, I say all the time, the difference between a professional and an amateur is the research that you do. Because anybody can write something, or anybody can record a video, and a lot of goofy people do, right? But how do you guarantee you're not talking into the void? You have to talk about something important to somebody, and then get it in front of that somebody probably through paid advertising or whatever your method is.
Yeah.
But believe me, my first 3 years of being a copywriter, everything I put on my blog was in the vacuum. Nobody saw that junk. I didn't know how to promote it. I wasn't paying for it. I don't know how. There's probably things that people still have never seen 10 years later, because I never sent anybody there, and it just exists there.
Wow. Let's transition.
I have YouTube videos with 3 views, and I'm pretty sure that my wife was just looking at them when I was out of town or something. Because I never promote them. So you gotta talk about something important, and then you gotta proactively find a way to drive traffic there.
Right. And once you get the combination of having answering or asking the right questions, or phrasing your information in a way that people are truly interested in, and then you drive traffic, you have a winning combination. Let me ask you, what would you say was one of your worst moments as a copywriter? Maybe if you can give a story of working with a client and maybe some takeaways you got from that.
Oh man, I had one. It's not too long ago. I'm embarrassed to tell this story, and nobody knows it yet except for the client. And if he might be talking junk about me someplace, but I will tell this to you because we're boys. This is like last year. I had a client. This is a guy. He's an internet marketer. He's making a good amount of money, and he's got a little bit of a reputation as as an expert, and he is. He's really smart. And I reached out to him, which is something I never do. But I wanted to work with him. I saw an opportunity. I reached out to him and said, let me take on this project for you. And he said, no, don't do that, but you can do this. And so I did that. But anyway, he said, I have this deadline and I need to create a video sales letter. Okay, fine. Here's my questionnaire. I have like an 8-page questionnaire I want you to fill out so that I can get into the head of your customer. I can know what's unique about you, what the unique selling proposition of this particular product is. I need to know these things for the reasons we just talked about. Because I don't want to be talking to the void, and you're not going to want to pay me to write something that doesn't work. I said, dude, I should have known at this point. He never sent us. He sent it back to me, but only answered like six of the questions.
Wow.
I got 6 pages of questions, and he was very superficial. He couldn't make the time to answer these questions. So I had to make up a 20-minute script based on kind of what I knew of him. You know, I didn't really have a great in-depth understanding of what he was offering because he hadn't really created it yet. Just a phone conversation that we had, which was superficial. Wow. And so anyway, I created this thing, and he kind of wanted me to model something, a webinar that somebody else was doing. I said, okay, I can kind of take inspiration from this. I wrote it. I thought it was pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
He thought it was really good. And he said he was surprised by how good he thought it was because he wasn't sure. Because I came to him now. This is why I don't do that. People come to me, so they're already, they're already somewhat convinced that I can help them.
Right.
They're somewhat convinced of my level of expertise. Right. When you go to somebody else, you have to prove that to them. So I guess this is like proving to him.
Yeah, and it showed by him not engaging in the discovery process so that you can give him even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because that being said, I knew it wasn't as good as it could have been, but I thought it would work well. And he ran it, and the results were horrible.
Oh,
they were terrible.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, at this point, I understand not everything works. I know that. You have to be able to adjust and optimize, and sometimes, you have to throw away ideas and start fresh. But this is funny. It didn't work. He told me this is not converting as high as I want. This is months ago. And so we're going to have to tweak it. I said, fine, let me know. We were working on something else at the time. And of course I have other clients. And at some point he turned it off and came back to me after 4 months of letting it sit and said, I need you to rewrite this. At which point I've forgotten all about what we did. And you never gave me the material I needed anyway. So anyway, why this is the worst thing, and the takeaway from it is, you have to do the research. This is what I preach, and I didn't do it. I should have harassed him and said, I cannot do this for you until you answer these questions.
Yeah.
I can't. It's impossible for me to make general statements. You need specificity. You need specific benefits. You need specific outcomes. You need specific examples.
Yeah.
You need specific proof. And I can't do all of that just based on what another guy did, even though he's selling something entirely different.
What worked for someone else doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. Right. Yeah.
And he was pretty mad because I told him I wasn't going to go back and work. It wasn't even about the money. At this point, I'm already on to other stuff. My calendar is booked full, and I just don't have time to get back into it. I'm definitely not doing it for free.
Yeah.
Because this is like trying to get into a project that I've already forgotten about, moved away from. Yeah. And my policy is if you need revision, it's cool, but it's got to be within a certain time period.
Wow.
So this is bad for me because my reputation. I don't need this. Well, I'm putting it out there, but
yeah.
I don't want anybody thinking, oh, Donnie doesn't produce.
No, not at all.
It's very rare. Well, no, it is what it is. Every copywriter that is anybody fails sometimes. Yeah. But this is a bad experience because I let it happen to myself.
Right.
And rather than trying something and it didn't work, and we tweak until it works, which is the normal process. You establish a baseline, like I was saying before, and they say, how do we make this better? Let's test this and this. This one is better. This one is worse. And then you build on that. But because I was so far removed from it, I wasn't able to do anything. It just turned out very poorly. So,
well, sorry to hear that. What would you say is one of your best moments as a copywriter?
I'll show you the most satisfying one. I've got a lot of those, but the one that sticks in my mind the clearest is from years ago. This is maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So I was still kind of I was still building my business and learning the craft. I mean, I'm always learning, but about 7 years ago, and I had a client come to me through something I had written in a guest post on a very popular newsletter. And it's funny, there was a typo in it. And he sent me an email to tell me about this typo. And then he somehow said, maybe you can help me with selling this thing. He had been in business for 5 years and had no income from this business. So it's not really in business, it's kind of a hobby at that point.
Yeah.
He had an online audience he couldn't make money from.
Wow.
And he said, maybe you can help me. And we created, see, this is why it works. I spent a lot of time, we talked on the phone. I read he had ebooks, a bunch of ebooks. I was able to read 4 or 5 or 6 ebooks to get a deep understanding of him and his audience and what he's delivering for them. And he created the product. I helped him sell it. It was a $10 product. It wasn't anything super sophisticated.
Yeah.
It's a $10 subscription.
Mm-hmm.
And on the day that we launched it, he texted me. He texted an email. I think it was an email at like 11 o'clock and said, we made $9,000 and such dollars.
Wow.
And I'm really excited because in the last 5 years I haven't made anything from this. And I made $9,000. He emailed me a little bit later. So we hit 10,000. I'm going to bed now. and it really transformed his life. I'm not going to take credit for it because he built an audience. He has all the great content because he really delivers great content. Mm-hmm. And he loves his audience. He really does, and they can tell. But he just had to figure out how to switch it over to free people wanting free stuff to getting paying for it. And not too long after that, we continued building on that, and he was able to leave his job. He had worked on the university, and make money. Make his money. His business was his source of income.
That is
so.
Yeah.
And we're still friends today. We became really good friends in the process. Not just because making money make you like people,
right?
But in the process of learning about his business, I got to know him, and he got to know me, and we became really good friends. Me, that's the most satisfying thing the most satisfying client experience I've ever had.
Yeah, that and it's always so gratifying to be able to deliver something to someone. Maybe they hadn't reached a certain level, and now you broke through with them, and then you see them take off from there. It's such a gratifying experience, especially in the industry that we're in, and our ability to use our skill sets to do that. When we return back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want you to give us a few takeaways for the entrepreneur out there, how they can utilize copywriting. What do they need to know to utilize it in their business? Right back. Hey, this is Lorenzo Salas again with Ignite Podcast with Donnie Bryant, a direct response copywriter with over 10 years of experience in marketing. Donnie, give us a few takeaways for the entrepreneur out there who's looking to use copywriter, whether he's a beginner or maybe he's got a little bit of experience, some nuggets that he could utilize today.
Okay. We've kind of touched on probably most of these during the course of our conversation so far. The number one is do your research. Now, if you've been in your business for any length of time, you probably know your audience pretty well, or at least you think you do. You know a lot of things about them. You know what products you've launched that they ate up, and which ones you launched that they wouldn't take for free from you. And hopefully you have like a CRM system or something where you have data on them. You can do the matching thing in Facebook. You can learn more and more about them. But the number one tip that I would say is get to know your audience. Do whatever kind of research you can do. Read the reviews that people are leaving on similar products on Amazon, or what the comments that they're leaving in Facebook groups that are related to your industry. Find out what they love about, your category, the things that they're most frustrated about by people who do what you do. and things like that, so that you can be the opposite of the bad things. Fix the things that they don't like, and deliver more of the things that they really do like, and get to know them. And like we talked about before, again, if you were talking to your wife, you sat there listening for 70% of the date, and then she asked you to respond to something, and you prove that you weren't actually listening. You were just sitting there, and plotting how you're going to kiss her. That would be a big obstacle to overcome, because I thought you were listening. You're just thinking about how to close the deal. And so the same thing is true here. Your customers have told you things through your action and your interaction. Now you just gotta build from there and continue to make your business more of what they want, less of what they don't want, and make your marketing, your each piece of copy, each thing that you send them, communication you send them, to reflect those values that they've told you about. That's number one. For me, that's the number one.
That is awesome.
And in the direct response world, this is going back decades and decades, there's this understanding that of the response that you get to any offer, you get the majority of in the old formulation, 40% of the response is directly resulting from who the audience is. And 40% is what the offer is.
Right.
And only 20% is what the copy and the creative is.
Oh, wow.
So it's all about finding the right audience and giving them the right offer. Like if you're selling Rolexes for $99, well, nobody will probably trust that. They'll think it's knockoff. But if they could prove that it was a real thing and I just had to sell for $99, watch people will buy them up. There's no question. Doesn't matter how good the copy is.
Right.
You can misspell Rolex if you want to. They will buy it.
That is
on the other
amazing.
hand, but you can't sell something they don't want, no matter how great the copy is. So it's all about knowing your people, knowing what they want. So that's number one, figuring those things out. And it takes time, takes effort, but the results over time, you'll see it's well worth it to get to know your people. The next thing, the next email you send out gets more opens and more clicks and more sales, and it happens continually over time as you get to know them. Just like your wife, the more you get to know it, the longer you've been together, the deeper in love you are. The TV shows will have you thinking that you get bored with your wife, you get tired of her. That's not true, is it?
No.
It's not true. It's funner now. You enjoy life more.
Yep.
You understand each other more.
Yep.
So it's just the same thing with your customers. You get new customers, but a lot of your customers are going to be, they're going to have the same characteristics. So the more you get to know your old customers, the better you understand problems.
Right, and the better you can formulate your message to them as you're looking to acquire customers for your business. That's excellent.
In that process, getting to know your people and they know that you're looking out for them. Then you get the testimonials and you get referrals and you get long-term customers who keep buying from you, stick around forever.
Wow.
That's largely coming from you understanding them enough to give them the next thing that they need.
Yeah.
Or to continue providing the things that they asked you for in the first place. Because if you don't deliver on it, they're not going to keep buying.
Wow.
And they're definitely not going to tell somebody else to buy from.
Donnie, as we close this broadcast, where can someone find you? Where can they find you, and how do they know about the services that you provide?
Okay, my website. Don't judge me because I don't update it all that frequently.
That's okay.
Because I'm actually working, but is Donnie-Bryant.com, and there's a contact form on there if you want to get in touch with me, or you can just read articles. I've got something like 200 on there, and that's my base of operation. I don't do a whole lot on social media these days, but Google likes me. So if you type Donnie Bryant into Google, you'll find me in multiple places.
All right. That's DonnieBryant.com?
Donnie-Bryant.com.
Donnie-Bryant.com.
A little hyphen between Donnie and Bryant. Because if you put DonnieBryant.com, I think it's a mechanic in Arkansas. Or a dentist in North Carolina. I can't remember. One of those guys got to the domain before me.
Tomatoes. Excellent. Well, thank you again, Donnie, for being on our podcast today. It was really fun hanging out with you when we did last time. And again, I look forward to working on the next project that I have coming up, hopefully sometime in the near future. But again, thank you for being on the podcast, dropping some serious bombs on us on some value and copywriting. For those of you who are listening to this podcast, please go out ahead and reach out to Donnie and visit his blog. I actually just posted one of the articles on my fan page on the power of keeping things simple. And right. I think that was one of your latest ones, latest blog post.
I think that's the last one, dude.
Yeah. Really good article. Really gave me some insight. And again, thank you again for joining us on the podcast. If you are if you're listening to Ignite Podcast and you want to know more about where you can find us, go visit our fan page at Ignite Marketing Agency. And we'll be having our website up pretty soon as we are doing a whole reconstruction of the website and the domain name and whatnot. But again, you can go, if you want to get information now, go to visit the fan page on Facebook at IgniteMarketingAgency.com. Thank you again, Donnie. Until next time.
Thank you.